It's difficult to give Trump's first 100 days a grade, but if I had to, I'd say it falls somewhere between F and U. And hey, don't get me wrong. I will say there have been some positives. Unfortunately, they've all been pregnancy tests for women who slept with Elon Musk, but there have been some positives. I mentioned last night that Trump's approval rating is the lowest of any president at this point in his term since they've been doing polls like this, at least 80 years, maybe 90 years.
Trump built his image on being untouchable, but Jimmy Kimmel slices through that illusion with sharp humor and perfect timing. Kimmel doesn't just ridicule Trump, he breaks him down. Every boast, every tantrum, every staged performance is peeled apart, leaving the president exposed as a parody of himself. Kimmel zeroes in on Trump's fragile ego, mocking his desperate hunger for praise and his meltdowns over the smallest slights. He shines a light on the absurdity of a leader who governs by tweets, complains about jokes, and treats policy like a petty celebrity feud. Trump lashes out because Kimmel reveals the truth. Behind the bluster is an insecure man who mistakes bullying for strength. Kimmel's brilliance is turning Trump's own words into the punchline. The untouchable image crumbles. What's left is just a reality star who forgot the cameras never stopped rolling.
I'm glad you're in a good mood. I am in a great mood, too. I've had a day of revelry and jubilation as I celebrate Donald Trump's 100th day in office. I assume there'd be a big round of applause. No? We have, 100 days behind us and only 13 more 100 days to go. It's been an historic 100 days. Some would say prehistoric.
Trump treats the White House like an extension of Trump Tower. A flashy lobby waiting for gold-plated escalators and overpriced steaks with his name stamped on the box. But Kimmel smashes that illusion, exposing a president who sold himself like a late-night salesman. This wasn't statesmanship, it was QVC in a red tie, peddling nationalism like a bargain bin blender. Every time Trump puffed out his chest to declare greatness, Kimmel stripped back the facade, revealing a man more obsessed with bragging about imaginary victories than delivering real results. Kimmel's comedy doesn't just mock, it unmasks. The billionaire builder is revealed as a master of hollow branding, while the leader of the free world is reduced to nothing more than a pitchman without a product. The crowd isn't just laughing, they're seeing through the con, and Trump is left with nothing but the hollow echo of his own empty boasts.
Well, sadly, the injury to his ankle meant Guillermo was unable to make the trip to Rome for the Pope's funeral. He was supposed to represent the United States. They had to send the president instead. President Trump flew to Rome to pay his respects and also to see if he could get a deal on the Pope mobile to drive around his golf course. For whatever reason, even though the Vatican dress code specifically recommended a dark suit for the service, Trump showed up in his bluest blue suit, something from the Cedric the Entertainer funeral collection.
If you're enjoying this video, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell because you won't want to miss what's coming next. Trump's obsession with crowd sizes was the first red flag that his presidency was really an ego management seminar disguised as government. Most presidents focus on the economy, foreign policy, or healthcare. Trump? He counted heads at rallies like a wedding DJ checking who showed up for the buffet. Kimmel couldn't resist roasting him for this, turning the biggest inauguration crowd ever into one of the funniest political delusions of all time. In Trump's imagination, empty bleachers and wide patches of grass transformed into oceans of cheering fans, and when photographers showed the truth, he exploded. Proof that the fragile ego of the self-proclaimed dealmaker could be shattered by a single wide-angle lens. Kimmel didn't just mock the lie, he exposed the insecurity driving it, a leader so desperate for validation he'd rather argue over photos than address real policy. The punchline wasn't only on Trump, it was on anyone who ever confused spectacle with substance. Subscribe now, because the circus isn't over, and Kimmel still got the spotlight fixed on center stage.
And oh man, if Obama wore in a blue suit to the Pope's funeral, Sean Hannity's head would explode inside Trump's ass. The fact that he was the only person not wearing a dark suit did not go unnoticed. So the White House press secretary pushed back. She said the president looked great and presidential alongside our stunning first lady, who was, as usual, dressed perfectly for the occasion. And she's right about Melania. I don't know about stunning, but she definitely looks stunned. Show them together, because this is the happiest I've ever seen these two together. It's like they're on their second honeymoon or something.
Then came the tweets. Those infamous 3 a.m. outbursts where Trump seemed to think world policy should be managed with the subtlety of a reality show confessional. Kimmel seized on it, noting that no leader in history had ever tried to resolve international disputes by shouting into a phone like a teenager live blogging a breakup. Trump turned Twitter into a launchpad for insults, firing tantrums at anyone who dared question his greatness. Kimmel captured it perfectly. Here was a man supposedly running the free world, yet he spent more time sparring with late-night hosts, athletes, and department stores than actually governing. The White House wasn't a seat of power, it was a green room for his grudges. Diplomacy wasn't about strategy, it was about score settling. Kimmel's brilliance was in spotlighting the absurdity without ever needing to exaggerate. The material wrote itself. A president who treated global crises like bad Yelp reviews and allies like disloyal season ticket holders. The verdict? Trump didn't earn the world's respect. He craved its attention, and Kimmel made sure everyone saw the difference.
Even Fox News has the president polling poorly, which is a fact that did not go over bigly with Trump spokesgoblin Stephen Miller.
New Fox News poll shows that the border has been one of your big successes, but everything else, he's sort of underwater. What do you say?
Well, I don't want to make things awkward for you, John, but it is our opinion that Fox News needs to fire its pollster.
Great idea, Vern.
And speaking of department stores, only Trump could pick a fight with Macy's and Nordstrom because they refused to stock his family's gaudy brand. Kimmel highlighted the absurdity. The man who sold himself as a titan of business couldn't even keep his name on a tie rack. That wasn't the art of the deal, it was the clearance aisle of irrelevance. The prices weren't slashed, but his ego was. Kimmel cast it as the ultimate irony. A billionaire spending more time bickering over shelf space than addressing national crises. While past presidents wrestled with wars and recessions, Trump was raging on Twitter about retail rejection like a bitter shopper. Kimmel didn't just mock the smallness of it, he revealed the hollowness of the Trump brand. The man who claimed to be a master negotiator couldn't even negotiate a spot in the bargain bin.
The prices that Donald Trump promised to bring down on day one are still going up. You know the store Dollar Tree, where everything cost $1? Because of inflation, Dollar Tree had to raise their prices to $1.25. And now because of these big, beautiful tariffs, they're reportedly planning to raise prices again, which is a problem because the store is called Dollar Tree. And so now they've even had to make adjustments to their commercials.
Kimmel's sharpest jokes landed hardest because they exposed Trump's biggest contradiction. The man who bragged about being the smartest, strongest, and most admired president constantly revealed himself as needy, insecure, and desperate for praise. Trump talked like George Washington reborn, but sulked like a child left out of dodgeball. Kimmel didn't need to exaggerate, he simply pointed to the nightly display of contradictions and let the hypocrisy collapse under its own weight. Then came COVID, a masterclass in how not to handle a crisis. Kimmel ripped into the spectacle, spotlighting the absurdity of a president offering medical advice that sounded more like a late-night infomercial. Instead of science, Trump delivered slogans. Instead of compassion, he obsessed over ratings. He bragged about viewership while mangling facts, treating press briefings like episodes of The Apprentice. Forgetting the audience wanted reassurance, not spectacle, he turned the updates into wreckage worth rubbernecking. Kimmel framed it as tragedy disguised as comedy, a leader so detached he turned a pandemic into a PR contest, where lives became statistics and empathy was reduced to a rating strategy.
We're now one step closer to finding out which winning town, either Indianapolis or Oklahoma City, will host a much bigger parade than our president's G.I. Joe themed birthday party this weekend. Won't that be fun? So, on Saturday, Trump had this, his much anticipated stupid Sweet 16, disguised as a tribute to the U.S. Army. He bone spurred his way out of. After all the hype and money, somewhere around $50 million, it was boring. It was basically a $50 million version of when a 5-year-old shows you every car in his Hot Wheels collection.
Kimmel's brilliance is in how he frames Trump's failures not as tragic accidents, but as laughably predictable results of a man who treats politics like an endless casting call. Trump didn't run to lead, he ran to stay famous. And Kimmel twisted the knife by showing that fame without credibility always curdles into mockery. The louder Trump shouted about being respected, the more he became the punchline. The real sting comes when Kimmel highlights Trump's obsession with legacy. Trump dreams of statues, airports, eternal glory. But what he's getting is a footnote soaked in comedy. Kimmel drags that fantasy into the spotlight, revealing that the only monument Trump is destined for is a marble bust carved into a circus clown. Every attempt to project strength, the tough guy image, the alpha act, the bluster, crumbles under Kimmel's gaze, dissolving into the spectacle of a man terrified of irrelevance. In the end, Kimmel doesn't just roast, he exposes.
All his talk about how this wasn't a birthday party for him, it kind of seemed like a birthday party for him. Yeah. They wrapped his new iPad in a flag. It was a lot of fun. What a birthday. It wasn't just, and they gave him a fireworks show on top of that. There's Sleepy Don taking it all in. And in fairness, that's as close as he gets to being able to sleep with his wife, so he took the opportunity. This is really good. This almost makes me feel bad for him, almost. So it's his birthday, and while there's no good reason for us to be paying to celebrate it, you'd think his wife might celebrate it, right? They're married, and well, watch this. You look at his hand. He makes a little move to lock pinkies, and nope. That's known as the Slovenian snub. And then it was time for the man who knows more than all of the generals combined to show off his military acumen.
The U.S. Army has driven bayonets into the heart of sinister empires, crushed the ambitions of evil tyrants beneath the threads of American tanks.
That's right. Don't thread on me, tanks.
Trump projects himself with regal confidence, yet shows clear discomfort whenever the admiration he craves doesn't arrive. Kimmel's approach tears down the grand image Trump tries to uphold, exposing instead a figure whose supposed power is undermined by his constant need for validation. Through his commentary, Kimmel reframes Trump's presidency not as a serious political era, but as a string of clumsy performances and public missteps. These range from awkward encounters with world leaders to questionable decisions and countless moments that stripped away presidential dignity. Kimmel zeroes in on the core contradiction between Trump's self-presentation and his actual behavior, showing how a man who insists on being taken with the utmost seriousness repeatedly engages in antics that invite ridicule. This shift from what could have been a heroic narrative into one remembered as enduring comedy captures a defining way Trump's presidency has been interpreted in popular culture.
Back to shoplifting for me. And then we have the Easter dummy, Donald Trump, who, don't worry, is making lots of money, and he's spending money too, specifically our money. President Trump has been doing an extreme makeover of the White House. Everything's gold now. Look at this room. It's all gold. The press secretary called it the golden office for the golden age, which is quite a spin. And for such an anti-DEI kind of guy, you wouldn't think he'd have the same taste as Liberace, but he does.
Kimmel's commentary exposes a core contradiction in Trump's style of leadership. Though he presented himself as a dominant force, Trump repeatedly displayed a reactive and insecure approach. His constant need for validation chipped away at the strong image he tried to project. Kimmel highlighted how this pattern played out across countless incidents and decisions during Trump's presidency. Instead of building a legacy of meaningful achievements, Trump's tenure became defined by avoidable controversies and self-inflicted obstacles. The divide between his self-presentation and his actual governance turned into one of the most striking features of his time in office. In the end, his leadership was remembered less for traditional accomplishments and more for its unconventional, often chaotic character.
He is very proud of himself for making a trade agreement with a country we were trading with just fine until he screwed it all up. This is funny. One of the companies that's getting a break from this deal is Rolls-Royce. So rest easy, Ma and Pa MAGA hat. You're still going to lose the farm, but you'll only have to pay 10% extra on that Rolls-Royce you've had your eye on.
On cars, we took it from 25 to 10 on Rolls-Royce because Rolls-Royce is not going to be built here. I wouldn't even ask them to do that. It's a very special car. And unless somebody shows me that there's another kind of a car that's comparable to a Rolls-Royce, then there aren't too many. This is a good commercial for Rolls-Royce. I'm going to order a lot of cars.
Mr. President, I wonder whether you'd like to buy.
The last time that happened, I ended up buying a Tesla.
He's still pronouncing it Tesla. And where is that Tesla you allegedly? He gave the Tesla to Melania.
Kimmel's approach exposes a fundamental truth about Trump's relationship with criticism. Though Trump tries to present himself as untouchable, he paradoxically supplies endless fuel for mockery. The strength of Kimmel's critique lies in its simplicity. He doesn't have to invent punchlines. He simply reflects Trump's own words and actions back to the audience, letting their contradictions reveal themselves. This method recasts Trump from a political leader into a recurring character whose flaws and insecurities become more obvious with every appearance. What makes this so powerful is how it dismantles Trump's carefully built image of invincibility. The story that unfolds is not one of triumph, but of repeated losses, legal, professional, and personal, that stand in stark contrast to his boasts of victory. Kimmel delivers this not with rage, but with sharp precision, making the critique cut deeper. The result is a portrayal that lingers, not because it's cruel, but because it's clear-eyed and consistent, allowing Trump's own behavior to dismantle the persona he tried to construct.
We got England. When your daughter asks for a Barbie for Christmas this year, just say, we can't afford that, honey, but maybe you'd like some John Smedley knitwear? This trade agreement is the biggest deal Trump has made with Britain since the time he convinced them to make his stunt double their prime minister. Today, the current British Prime Minister, Keir Starmer, was not able to be at the White House, but he did call in to kiss some ass via speakerphone.
Donald, thank you so much. It's really good to have this deal over the line. Tribute to both teams, tribute to our countries, and tribute to your leadership.
Keir, thank you very much.
Thanks, Donald, and we'll speak again soon.
Very good. So long. Bye.
The conclusion lands with undeniable weight, cutting through the noise of rallies and stage bravado. Kimmel doesn't simply mock Trump, he redefines him in real time. The disruptor who once dominated headlines, the media manipulator, the strongman who commanded rooms with sheer bluster, all of it unravels. The applause Trump craves now returns as laughter. The validation he seeks twists into ridicule. The legacy he yearned for, power, respect, historical weight, slips from his grasp. What remains is something far less dignified, yet far more lasting: punchlines. A caricature preserved not by greatness, but by the jokes told at his expense. The man who wanted monuments is remembered in memes. The leader who sought glory survives as a punchline. Irony becomes his epitaph.